This will never get old for as long as I live. Paul.
Mario.
What are you doing?
There we go. Look at that.
Look at this guy doing all the good stuff.
That's it. I do what I do to survive. Oh, I don't have a name. Thank you for giving me a name.
You're welcome.
Have a name.
Hashtag Nation, Bills Mafia. What is up? APM Central. Yeah.
Sorry, man. Yeah. So welcome to technical difficulties with Paul and Mario. This one actually is my fault. I just so you guys know, like I build computers and stuff as a hobby, and it was one of those moments where like I had something plugged in that I could not unplug. So I was like, Mario's just gonna have to forgive me.
He was at the point of no return, guys. That's okay.
I was.
But ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the to the hashtag sports presentation of the Buffalo Bills versus the Seattle Sea Chickens, as the Buffalo Bills win 31-10. A very dominant performance from start to finish. The Buffalo Bills actually starting very strong today, and Paul and I will get into that. We're going to get into the penalties that literally killed the flow of every drive in this game. Obviously, we would be remiss if we didn't mention the fact that DK Metcalf was not dressed for this game, which was a big blow to the Seattle passing game, which if you're number one in league in passing and your number one receiver's out, it's definitely going to affect your team. So obviously we're going to try to be as objective as possible analyzing this victory, but the Buffalo Bills moved to 6-2 on the season, 5 games on the road already in the first 8. So going 6-2 in today's NFL, 5 of those being on the road. You're 3-2 on the road now, and you're 3-0 at home. You're protecting your house, which is good. So a lot of things to talk about. We're going to talk about the upcoming schedule. We're going to have our Fix It or Forget It segment. But, Paul, right out of the gate, obviously, our sponsor, Mr. Rogers Homes. And you can find all of our stuff on our socials, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. All episodes will be on iTunes and Spotify. Yep. Paul, overall thoughts on the game today?
Khalil Shakir.
He's immediately pulling up. He's immediately pulling up the drive chart, guys. I'm not even lying.
Yeah, I was. Yeah. So first off, I think it's very obvious how different this team is when there's somebody on the field that has to be accounted for that wasn't there the first half of the season. Listen, I know Amari Cooper's stat line does not look great. 2 targets, 1 reception for 3 yards, and 1 he slipped and led to an interception. I know the stat line doesn't look great, but another good game from Keon, showing how physical he can be because now he's getting better matchups, right? Shakir now can move a little bit all over the field instead of always being on the outside. You see what a difference that makes. I feel a little foolish, Mario. We talked about Dawson Knox being a victim. Dawson Knox, is this his best game? 2 receptions for 50 yards, 25 yards per reception, Mario. Have we read the tea leaves wrong on Dawson Knox?
No, we didn't, because if I'm coming in to play Buffalo, I'm going to let Dawson Knox try to beat me.
I mean, if you're at that point in your season,
I'm going to cover Kincaid,
sad, isn't it?
I'm going to cover Kincaid. I'm going to cover Shakir. I'm going to cover Cooper. All right, you want to try to beat me with Knox? Go ahead.
Yeah, that's right.
But the craziest part is that we dog on Knox a little bit here and there, and I think a lot of that comes from the off the field stuff with this guy in his contract. Like if his contract wasn't what it was or what it is, I don't think a lot of people would be very upset about that. If he was just a 3rd round pick that was still in his rookie deal, you could be like, okay, cool, whatever. It is what it is. But I mean, we could also talk about, I don't want to speak intelligently about the emotions of this guy because it wasn't too long ago he lost someone very close to him. So I don't want to know if I'm not going to speak as if that's still affecting him in some way. I'm sure it does. But that being said, if I'm an opposing team, we're talking about on the field stuff. If I'm an opposing team and I'm coming in, I have to take care of Kincaid. I need to take care of Shakir, and I need to take care of Cooper. And now Coleman. Okay, if you're going to leave somebody open or somebody on a linebacker, it's going to be Dawson Knox, which is fine. You can take that matchup. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
right. Yeah.
Kyle, yes.
So, but I think Kyle brings up an interesting point, right? Keon Coleman now has the ability to, again, get better matchups. And in the red zone, it is very clear that Keon is a force in the red zone and should be, one of Josh's primary targets moving forward inside the 20. So very physical. You saw him get really chippy today, gets a personal foul penalty for blocking somebody into the bench. Hey, who hasn't been there? But the fact of the matter is this was a Bills team that played very spirited football. And, don't get me wrong, right? 14 plays, 9 minutes. That drive was actually 110 yards, I think it was. 110 yards, 115 yards with penalties. Yeah, yep. Spin was on with Joe during halftime. And mentioned, I don't remember if he said 110 or 115 yards after considering penalties, but 9 minutes off the clock. So Bills ran 14 plays, 9 minutes off the clock in their first drive. Now that's a Bills team we have not seen. We have not seen that, right? Like we've seen them control the ball a little bit. We haven't seen a 9-minute drive in a long, long, long time. And I think that kind of set the tone that Buffalo was just they're just going to be in control. And even though they punted, the drive after that and interception, the drive after that, Geno Smith goes down, falls over the back of his center. They go 4 plays, no yards, walk away with no points. When they went for it on 4th down, down by the goal line, did that tell you that they felt like they weren't going to get down there very often today? Because Buffalo was not far removed from a 9-minute drive. Sure, they went 6 plays, 30 yards, and punted on the following possession after their long touchdown. But was that Seattle saying, no, we're not going to let you take, we're going to take points here. Like we're not just going to kick the field goal and go down 1. We're going to show you that we can man up with you, because admittedly they had 3 shots already and didn't go anywhere.
Yeah. So they had a 3-and-out, another 3-and-out. And then you force Buffalo to punt after 6 plays. You go down 13 plays, 7 minutes, eat up 71 yards, and you get a field goal. Okay, you're feeling pretty good now. But now the script is done. Your script is over at this point.
Yeah.
The Bills then 3 plays, they throw the pick, and now you're down there. You're like, let's just punch this in. Let's try to get a lead on this team. Let's try to do something with them. I think they probably wanted to go up 10-7 so they can feel more comfortable about running the ball. Because if you go up 10-7 and Buffalo ends up coming down with another long drive, because you knew possessions were going to be at a premium today. If you have a game plan for a team and they come out and they go 90 yards on you in 14 plays and eat up 9 minutes, you know that possessions are going to be at a premium. I don't know if it was so much that they were like, I don't know how many times we're going to get down here. The first couple 3-and-outs might have been something, but I mean, Paul, we talked last week about it. This team is very Jekyll and Hyde. You got a new coach, new OC, you got a lot of new parts in there. This is a team that defeated the Atlanta Falcons, but lost to the Giants. This is a team that there's the ebb and flow of this team is kind of crazy. And then we talked about coming into this game, how Buffalo, even with a lot of young players that they have, they're very seasoned in the coaching staff, more than Seattle. I'll say they're more seasoned than Seattle. So they could take a shot like, okay, we threw a pick, whatever. Let's man up on defense, which they did, and that was a huge momentum swing for Buffalo. I mean, they come out, and then not only do you stop them on the goal line, 4 plays, no yards, you go down and score in 4 minutes. It take 93 yards. That was, to me, the game was over at that point. Even though it was an 11-point game and you want to try to do these halftime adjustments, you go into the half and you're down by 11 to Buffalo, who is arguably the best second half adjustment team in the NFL.
Yeah.
It's not going to bode well for you. And then you give up 17 more points in the second half. So,
yeah, Seattle 1 for 7 on 3rd downs. And I mean, that just tells you how poorly they played to only have 7 3rd down attempts. Buffalo, 8 of 15 3rd down efficiencies, 29 first downs for the Bills today. That's a number. You score 31 points in 29 first downs. That's a number right there.
Those numbers tend to correlate with each other. When you start talking about some teams like that. So
yeah, but unfortunately, Seattle, they're a team that they pass, they throw the ball an awful lot. But coming out of the half, they didn't even have 10 yards rushing on the day. Buffalo really did a good job of taking away key points, and when you could take away weapons like Zach Charbonnet, Kenneth Walker. Those guys are trouble with the ball in their hands.
They are.
But when dangerous. You can take them out of the game, because they're not really contributors in the passing game. and you saw, what this team looked like without DK Metcalf. And it's the same thing that Buffalo dealt with the beginning of the season. There's just going to be some games where the offense just kind of lays there. And Seattle's a better team than that. But without DK, you really saw what that offense looked like. And they, I don't want to say that, Tyler Lockett's on the other side, on the downside of his career, but this was a game Tyler Lockett should have been great. Like, he needed to step up for this team. That's why he's there. But 3 targets, 1 reception for 9 yards, that doesn't do it. You're not being a leader for your team when that happens. And he absolutely had probably among the better matchups of the day, but Seattle still just couldn't find a way to capitalize.
Was he in the slot, or was JSN in the slot?
They moved him all over the place. They
did. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was say JSN was in the slot more often than not. He had 7 targets, 6 catches, 69 yards. Obviously, he had a few of those catches when the game was already out of hand. I mean, but you look at Kenneth Walker's stat line, and like you said, 12 carries for 16 yards combined for those 2 guys. Obviously, the 1 touchdown, which I wish kind of would have went to Walker, would help my fantasy team out a little bit. But the point being, no, but you look at it. I want to go back real quick to Paul Berg's comment, because I tweeted this out during the game. It said, was the INT a slip on Cooper or just a bad throw by Josh? Really sucked. Fox is terrible. 100% on that. But the fact was, I thought he made the wrong read on that. He had a double slant on that side with Shakir, or maybe Kincaid and Cooper. And he was just trying to beat him off the line. And if that hit, it would have been nice. I think Josh on that play, he already knew where he was going with the ball. And like most quarterbacks do, you know what I mean? If they read the coverage and they know what the coverage is, they know where the open guy is going to be. I understand that. But it just seemed like he didn't look. Because if he would have seen Cooper stumble, which was right off the snap, I think he pulls that ball down and he doesn't throw it. So I guess you could say, it might be 60-40. I mean, it might be
I think a lot of that, though, they were trying to get the ball out of Josh's hands pretty early today. So that's just one of those routes where he's not really looking. Like he steps back, he's just throwing it, because they really did the best they could to get the ball out of Josh's hands as soon as possible. They just wanted quick hits. And today we actually saw some of those screens kind of be effective. What? Don't look at me. You're the one all up at TikTok shop. You're like, oh, I got I don't have a new room coming, Mario. Like, look, this is a whole ass room. What am I supposed to do with this? I've got 2 doors and a bookshelf. What do you want me to do? First
of all, it was Amazon, by the way. It was not TikTok shop. That's where I got the headphones, TikTok shop. But that's beside the point.
Okay.
This is Five Below.
That was Five Below?
Yeah, that's Five Below.
That's a good pull for Five Below. I gotta be honest with you.
It was not 5 or below. It was a little bit more than that.
Yeah, no, that is false advertising now. That is false advertising.
But yeah, like let's just try to hone this in a little bit. I mean, you were talking about it, but as far as the Buffalo Bills go, the game plan was, let's not put Josh in harm's way. Let's get the ball out of his hands quick. Let's do this. A lot of the wide receiver screens that weren't working a lot, guys were getting out on the edge, and it was amazing. I know what you're reading in the chat. Mario has a great setup. Don't shame. Anyway, but the point was, a lot of those wide receiver screens that we haven't seen in the past, or haven't really worked very well in the past, were really, really effective because the guys really couldn't pin their ears back and come after Josh. And I understand that, we see other teams do that to Buffalo, and they have a lot of success with it. And we're like, why doesn't Buffalo run that? I mean, there's a joke going on with me and Mueller. He's like, I don't think I've ever seen the Bills defend a screen or run a successful screen in about a decade. So, and I think a lot of Bills fans will agree to that. But the fact that they're able to do that now and have that, and those guys get out on the edge, to get Dawkins out there can I just say, every week, I just want to say this, and I'm gonna start like a fan club or something for it. Osiris Torrance may be the best draft pick that this team has had, and I'm including Josh Allen. Like, I love the fact that guy.
Well, that's enough of that. We're not listening to any of that. Yeah. Oh, okay, buddy.
Second round pick. He's a first round guard. First of all, I know you hate first round guards. He's a first round
guards.
You hate first round guards
in the first round.
But that guy is just a maniac and does so much everything every week. You never see anybody come up through the middle on Osiris. Like, I'm a fan of Osiris Torrance. And I think that it's understated that every time when people want to talk about Bean and his picks and all, they want to knock on him for Kerry Elam and stuff like that. Why don't you mention the Dalton Kincaids and the Osiris Torrances? Like, why don't you guys do that? The Josh Allens. Why don't you guys mention those guys ever?
I'll
You know what I mean?
I'll be honest. My MVP of today was Ed Oliver. That man
Oh,
was
yeah.
a stud today. Ed
Did you like the Brady story?
phenomenal.
Did you like the Brady story?
How he's happy he's 150 yards away from him. He doesn't want to be anywhere near Ed Oliver. You know,
no, the fact that
no, go ahead.
No, the fact that Oliver went up to him and said, "Hey, you miss me?" Like, what the hell?
I could not believe the things that I heard Tom Brady say on the broadcast. Like when Josh got that personal, like the roughing the passer penalty, and Brady goes, "Oh, I think he embellished that one a little bit." You know what, Tom? You know what? That's enough from you, right? That is enough.
I thought you were about to get us
kicked. That grin on your face.
I thought you were about to get us kicked off of YouTube. No, okay. Listen, I got to get this off my chest. I said it.
Sure.
They're talking about, Tom Brady's talking about the success of the Bills and how when you have success, you have good players. When you have good players, they end up getting paid, and you might lose some of those guys. And the audacity for me, Paul, of Tom Brady to talk about losing good players because they can't afford to play him when he was never in the top 10 of quarterbacks paid because he had a $500 million princess at home. He never had to be the highest paid quarterback in the league. So Bill allocated those funds to get him more players. That's how you have a 20-year dynasty. Shut up, Tom. Like, I can't believe it. He's like, well, sometimes you lose good players. Shut your mouth, okay? You had a $500 million wife at home, so you never had to be the highest paid quarterback in the league, which made you a success for 20 years. Shut your face.
Yeah.
Can we get a Mario TikTok for Shakir using the Malkovich pay that man his money meme? He beat me straight up.
Shakir, but this is the problem when you draft non-first round wide receivers, right? 4 years. You get them 4 years.
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
It. You don't get them for long.
Well, Paul, let me ask you this, and I'm going to ask the chat this too. A lot of people have their varying opinions on Stephon Diggs. Now, the Bears, who just lost a heartbreaker today, they decided to go the route of drafting their quarterback and the receiver in the same year.
Yeah.
The Buffalo Bills decided, listen, we have a young Josh Allen here. Let's trade for a guy we know is already seasoned in the NFL and knows the ins and outs and put him with Josh. And when you and I have extolled the virtues of that move by Buffalo, which extend further beyond the years that Diggs would have been on this team. He was able to let Josh see what he sees, do a bunch of different things, and it really helped in Allen's development. Are we at the point with Josh Allen that he is now the seasoned vet and it's Keon Coleman he's helping? Or do you think Cooper was brought in to help Coleman and Josh still has stuff to learn?
I don't think there's a I don't think there's a I don't think there's a correlation as far as Cooper coming to be anything but a player, right? Like I think that the narrative of he's here to mentor is not. Most players don't ask for that. Most players don't want to be a mentor, right? Like, how does Cooper benefit from that? Like he's a quiet guy. He's there about business. I think Keon has proven he's about business, right? It's very obvious. Keon thinks he's about business. But with that being said, I think the narrative of Cooper being a mentor, that's just not fair to put on him, right? Like he didn't ask for that necessarily. Like he was just in Cleveland 2 weeks ago, right? And that was a world that was exploding. Now he's in Buffalo. You're asking him to coach up your second round wide receiver. I'm like, nah, man, come on. I don't believe that. I think that's Josh's. I think that's Josh's job to help get his receivers to be accountable, right? That's you have to ask that of Josh at this point. I think that's just the way that has to go, right? It's the most dependable. The wide receiver room. Look at what that wide receiver looks like this year, that room, and compare it to last year. And the only person that was there was Shakir, right? So,
Bills fan 21. There isn't a clear demarcation. Allen and Diggs helped each other. Allen helps Coleman and Cooper. Cooper helps both, etc. Okay, I like it. I can get down with that. I can definitely get down with that. All right, now finally, Paul, we got to talk about it.
What?
The flags.
Yeah.
I love how it froze on that deer in the headlights look that you had on your face just now.
I mean, I look at it this way. You knew it was coming. This crew throws the most flags in the NFL. You knew it was coming.
Yeah.
It's been tough because it's been Buffalo. Like Buffalo had that wild Jets game where absolutely everything got called. And today was the refs very clearly said, we're going to call a lot of stuff, like the first couple drives. So it makes the game unwatchable at times and makes the game unpredictable. Buffalo did benefit from penalties, right? Like they ended up being up, 14-3 going into halftime because of the roughing the passer penalty. Like Buffalo's going to kick a field goal there.
Yeah.
That's what they were going to do.
Well, they were going to kick it anyway.
Yeah.
They ended up going 7. No, wait, no. Okay. Yeah.
No, they have 14-3. So they scored a touchdown to Kincaid on that drive.
I was thinking of the first drive of the second half. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It makes the flow of the game. You can't get into a rhythm. We talk about quarterbacks getting into rhythms and stuff like that. I mean, Geno already was not going to be in rhythm because he didn't have DK out there. So he had to try to figure out, who am I going to go to now? Could this work in my favor? Can I do this, that, and the third? And you have a very inexperienced coaching staff over there. What could I do to, try to see? And you can see the frustration on him. I mean, him just tossing that ball, which I didn't think was a penalty, but you have to throw that. I mean, if you're already throwing everything, you have to throw that. You know what I mean? So that was very un-Geno-like, and I don't think anybody should think twice about it. But the point was, you're sitting there and you're already frustrated. Now the flow of the game, you can't get into a rhythm as a quarterback because all these flags are flying around, and they're calling backside holds. And for those of you that, you want me to explain that real quick, is if there's a running play going to the left side of the line and you call on the right tackle for a hold, stop it. Okay, he's not even affecting the play. He's not even in the play. Why are you calling that? It's stupid. So
some refs believe that, if they call the backside stuff, maybe it'll clean up the rest of the game. At some point you have to understand that the NFL didn't put this crew together and just say, well, let's just see what happens, right? Like they go through calibration over the course of the season, and if they're calling that stuff, there's a reason for it. There's a reason for it. So, I mean, did it have a major impact on the outcome of the game besides, did it kill any specific drives? I mean, I don't know, right? Like definitely helped Buffalo today.
It didn't seem to. Like Buffalo had that 1st and 20, I think, coming out in the half, right? Mm-hmm. And then they were able to still overcome that. They threw like a wide receiver screen, and then like Cook ran it up, and then they were able to erase that. But it was... It's mostly just venting from a fan at this point. Like it makes the game unwatchable. You can't do that.
It does.
And it doesn't mean it's not a sign that you have a very undisciplined team. It's just the way that crew is. I mean, even Paul even said it. This is the crew that throws the most flags in the NFL. Yeah. So if you're going to get this team, or you're going to get this crew, you have to know beforehand. And a lot of crews, I mean, football studies everything, guys. I mean, these guys study the referee crews that are going to be in. Like, this crew doesn't really call holds that much, so you guys can get away with a little bit more this week. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. It like goes on. It's crazy, but it goes on.
Mm-hmm. Well, and what was it? 24 accepted penalties today.
Yeah, accepted.
24 accepted penalties. Although I will say I did learn something today. The illegal formation penalty is negated by a personal foul penalty. I did not know that.
It wasn't like that before.
I did not. Yeah.
Before it was like offsetting penalties. Like I jumped outside. Right. You killed my quarterback. How is that offsetting?
Offset.
That's good. I like that.
Right.
I like that now.
Well, and the personal foul should be assessed, right? Like
absolutely.
It's not of equal consequence. Like if it's personal foul, it's a personal foul. That should stand. I totally agree. I will, again, I'm just going to make this case one more time. Can we please, if somebody gets a personal foul penalty after the play, after a scoring play, you assess the yardage on the extra point attempt. Please assess the yardage on the extra point attempt. Stop assessing it on the kickoff. Like, you're trying to make the kickoff irrelevant. You're assessing penalty yardage on the kickoffs. It doesn't make any sense anymore.
It's irrelevant. It really is.
Punish the teams. Put it on the point attempt. There's still points to be scored. You should put it on the point attempt.
So they kick it from the 45.
Oh, well.
No, I mean, they snap it from the 45. So that's an extra 17. That's
sure do. Sure do.
A 62 yarder. Well. Yeah.
Oh, well.
I was going to say, I like that idea now that I think, because if you move it back to is it on the 30 or 20? Where is it at? I don't even know. That's crazy. Where's the ball at when they kick the extra point? It's a 30-yard field
30.
goal, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, so then it'd be a 45-yarder, which most of these guys can hit. I always thought they should assess it not on the kickoff, not on the extra point, on the next set of downs that they get the ball.
Oh, come on.
Hey, that's where most of the game is anyway. You're going to call a penalty. You want these guys not to commit those penalties? There you go.
So they put the ball on the 15-yard line, which is a 33-yard field goal attempt.
So now it'd be a 50-yarder or 48-yarder. Yeah, I could deal with that. That's good. That's fine.
Yeah, that's the way it should be.
Yeah, I always hated that too. We're going to assess on the kickoff. He punched a guy in the face. And we're going to assess it on the kickoff. Awesome. Cool. So now he gets to kick it from the 50. Nice.
Let's wrap up conversation with this game, Mar, because the Bills have a lot going on. You look at the rest of the division, Miami, the Patriots are just simply not in the mix at all. Miami is on the verge of a total implosion. The Jets have already imploded. You get Miami next week. That is a home game. So Miami comes to Buffalo November 3rd. That is a 1:00 game. They are 2-5 right now. Tua supposed to be back for that game, I heard. Looking like Tua is going to be back for that game.
He was back today.
Yeah, well, right. Well, he survived. So Tua is going to be back for the Bills game, right? Like, that's the way I look at it. He made it through one. He'll probably be at the next one. So
Buffalo Bills. I said Garn just said. See what Garn just said? That's amazing.
No.
Bills have 6 wins. Dolphins,
true,
New England, and New York all have 2.
That's true. Like, you have to win the division here, right? But if you're Miami, after the Bills, you get the Rams, the Raiders, the Patriots, the Packers. You still have to play the Jets. You still get the Texans. You still have the 49ers. The Jameis Winston Browns. I mean, he's going to keep quoting Eminem lyrics in his pregame speeches just as long as they keep winning. They actually won. And then you get the Jets one more time. So Miami doesn't have the easiest road, right, compared to Buffalo. Buffalo's got to go through some similar teams. But, the fact of the matter is Miami's in a bad way.
It's one of those things where you can't. The firepower that they have and what they could do on any given play is something that you can't ignore. I don't care what their record is coming in. This is a divisional game. You're at home. The pressure's on Buffalo more than we'd like to admit. I mean, Miami's 2-5. They're awful. Tua just came back. I don't care. You want to make all your jokes you want all week. That's fine. But when it comes Sunday at 1:00, this team better be prepared to play a team that literally has nothing to lose at this point. If they lose, they'll be 2-6, and they're going to be in rebuild mode and probably do a few things and maybe implode a little bit. But if you lose, it's another division and conference loss, which you got a break today with Cleveland beating Baltimore. You're now the 3rd seed. If it ended today, you're the 3rd seed. But the Ravens are 5-3, Bills are 6-2. You can't have a stumble now. You can't. You got to put your foot on the gas and beat this Miami team within an inch of its life. I don't care.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to accept anything less than that. I'm not going to accept this game being like 17-10 Miami at half, and then the Bills come out in the second half and do. I don't want that. I don't want that at all. I don't care.
Well, and I think the difference between a Miami that some teams were getting, before this week, HN's back, right? Yes. Although he's still in a split. He's still getting splits with Mostert, which I just don't understand at this point. HN 10 carries for 97 yards today. Mostert 9 carries for 19 yards. Like, what are we doing wasting our time here with Raheem Mostert if we're Miami? You got Tyreek Hill back. Jalen Waddle still healthy. Jonnu Smith is finally contributing on that offense. Like, there's some things going well for Miami because you got some players back that you've been without that probably heavily contributed to your record. So I do think that a lot of people are going to look at Miami's record and say, well, this is a team Buffalo should absolutely stomp into the dirt. The fact of the matter is they're not the same team that Buffalo or the rest of the NFL saw 2-3 weeks ago.
This is not.
It's a different team.
The team that will be suiting up against the Buffalo Bills at 1:00 is not a 2-5 team.
No.
And I think people need to realize that. Yeah,
I agree with that.
I will not be making any bold claims that Miami will win by 2 touchdowns like I did the first time. So you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, that was pretty bold. Yeah, I appreciate it.
I had a bad feeling about that game, Paul, and I wanted to let everybody know.
Yeah, you took up a lot of my time on social media trying to like white knight for you over that. So can we please not do that? They lost by 21 the last game. So let's just like pump the brakes on the whole.
I understand. Yeah, they lost by 21 and they took Tua out of the game. I understand that. Okay. I understand that happened. And that which gives Miami even more of a reason to come back at Buffalo this week.
You know this is the game you got to circle because this is their season, right? If you lose this game, you're looking at you have to win out and pray that you get some help. Now rest of the Buffalo schedule isn't very easy.
The next 3 weeks, yeah.
Well, and I don't want people to judge the Bills season off of Kansas City's season, right? Which is going to be what happens, I think, right? No matter how you shake it out, I think people are going to compare Buffalo's season versus how Kansas City's season went. And Kansas City's schedule is much easier the rest of the way than Buffalo's.
Which is weird for a Super Bowl champion. Like, I don't understand that.
So easy. They got the Ravens week 1. You know, they got the Bengals who were falling all over themselves. They barely beat the Bengals by 1. They caught the Falcons early. The Chargers are a disaster. The Saints are pretty good. It turns out the Saints are pretty good.
Well, they were in that game until they knocked Carr out. They were in that game. They knocked Carr out, and that's what turned that game around. That was the game.
Yeah, the 49ers are a mess right now. So there's that. You just played the Raiders. You still have to go through the Bucks. You get the Broncos twice. Thanks, division. Then you get the Bills, the Panthers. Who knows who will be quarterback for the Panthers by that point?
The Panthers?
Yeah.
No.
Hey, Andy Dalton. Faith in the Red Rocket, my friend. Faith in the Red Rocket. The Raiders again, the Chargers again, the Browns, the Texans. So the similar record to Miami, or similar path, or similar opponents to Miami at the end of the season. But the fact of the matter is their schedule's quite a bit easier than Buffalo's. Buffalo's still got some horses to go through, but it is what it is. I agree. I don't love the schedule.
I
for
say
Kansas City versus Buffalo. Their schedule just seems a little easier to me.
It is. It seems. But all right, let me look at the Chiefs real quick. What you're looking at, because I think it's very, very interesting. So I don't know why anyone would base Buffalo's success or failures on what the Chiefs are doing currently right now. I mean, Chiefs are 7-0. They're 3 plays away. 3 plays from being 4-3.
Right.
They are. You do not go into a game, and if you just looked at the stats, we're just going to look at strictly as the stats. Going into the Raiders game, Patrick Mahomes had 6 touchdowns and 8 picks. You do not think that team is 6-0 if he's performing in that fashion. Speaks highly to the defense and what they're doing on the other side.
Yeah.
I mean, they held the Ravens to 20 early. I know you talked about that early. They had one play that could have changed the whole dynamic of that game in the Ravens. One play against the Bengals, one play against the Falcons, and they won by 7, 1, and 5. There was one play that decided all those games. The Chargers had a 10-0 lead on them and then couldn't score for the rest of the game. They lost 17-10. Saints, that game was a 16-13 game when they knocked Carr out of the game. The 49ers, like you said, they're a dumpster fire right now.
Right now.
Yeah. Brock Purdy throws 3 picks. When does Purdy ever throw 3 picks? He doesn't.
Yeah.
And then you got the Raiders, who Gardner Minshew, I think that's who it was.
Well, they're playing quarterback tango right now. because they're trying to save Devonta Adams, and they start Aiden O'Connell because Devonta Adams really, believed in Aiden O'Connell, and then they trade Devonta Adams, and then Gardner Minshew's back in. Like they're just trying to survive. That team is just trying to survive.
Yeah, the Chiefs are playing defensive football, and they're just doing enough just to get by. And I haven't watched a lot of their games, but I'm sure that people will say that they're getting favorable calls. I can't say that because I don't know. But winning teams usually get those. Buffalo's gotten a few this year. You can't deny that. They got a few calls that helped them out this year. So what's weird about the game today, Paul? Real quick, I want to talk about Seattle just for one more second because I want to talk about Josh Allen really quick. Josh Allen, 24 for 34, 283, 2 touchdowns. There were some called runs for him. He ran the ball 7 times today. I think we were talking about when that was going to start happening. We didn't know.
Glad to see it finally happen. Yeah.
But the unfortunate part about that is that performance that he had today, a dominating, controlling the game offense that he had, is going to be overshadowed by the first pick that he threw this year. And that's unfair to Josh. That's completely unfair to Josh.
He's got 1 on the season. Mahomes has thrown 1 a game.
No, but that's what people are going to focus. You know how people are. They're going to focus on that 1 pick. Oh, how about that pick you threw and it almost got taken to the house? Yeah. Would they win by again?
Yeah. How many points they score off that drive? 0.
Yeah.
How'd that turn out?
I'm interested because obviously you got the Dolphins, you're at the Colts, and then you're against the Chiefs before your bye week. What is your realistic expectations? And I want the chat to join in on this one too. What do you want to see? Obviously, you want to see Buffalo at 8-2 before they play the Chiefs. That'd be the ideal scenario because you get 2 more AFC victories under your belt before you play the Chiefs at home at 425. What is your hope going into that game against the Chiefs? Like, are you? Because mine is, I just want everybody healthy by that game, so you could see what you got. I don't want Bale Inspector playing a ton of time in the middle there against the Chiefs, because then it doesn't give you a realistic look for the playoffs and how that's going to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we assume the Bills are, the trajectory is they're headed toward the playoffs. I mean, you got the Colts, who Anthony Richardson took a play off today because he was tired. He ran off to the sideline and said, "I'm beat."
What?
Yeah. You didn't see it. The post-game press conference. He walked off. He said, "It was a long drive. I was tired. I said, go in for a play and I'll be back in." Literally. Yeah. Hilarious.
Wow.
But then you got the 49ers, which we said were unraveling after your bye, and you got them at home after your bye, which is nice.
Yeah.
Then you got to go to LA and go to Detroit, which are never fun. Okay. Everyone wants to talk about the Rams are kind of like the NFC version of the Dolphins, where they have all this firepower and explosiveness, and they just haven't been healthy all year. But they're still, when they get all those parts together, you think if Cooper Kupp's still on the team, he's going to be back. Kyron Williams is a monster. Nakua is a handful to deal with. Is the tight end still Higbee there? He's not easy to deal with. Whoever the tight end is.
Not there anymore.
The tight end is
Parkinson. Cody Parkinson.
Yeah, he's not easy to deal with.
He's a bigger guy. Yeah, he's a bigger guy. He's a bull. He's a bull of a tight end.
You end the season with Patriots. I think, by and large, if you're able to take care of, let's say the Bills over the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games, go 500, and you're 9-5 going into those last 3 weeks.
You're still winning the division.
Yeah, you're still
winning the division.
But that was never the thing that the Bills fans wanted. Like, okay, you have a 5th straight division title. No Bills fan at this point cares about that. In 2017, we cared about that. We don't care about that now.
Right.
No.
Yeah, totally true. Before we go any further, though, I want to make sure that we give a shout out to Sean from Mr. Rogers Homes, the sponsor for the #postgame show. If you're looking to build wealth in real estate, make sure you go to Mr. Rogers Homes. Go check out his YouTube channel as well. Sean's always putting out new content. Go like a video, leave a comment, subscribe to his channel. We thank Sean for all his contributions to #Nation over the last few years. Thank you so much, Sean. So with that being said, I think, I don't want to look past the Dolphins too far, right? the Colts don't really scare me. I love the fact that you Kansas City at home and the 49ers at home. If both those games were away, I'd be a little shy about how I felt, right? But both those games are in Buffalo. Love that, right? To me, I just want Terrell Bernard back for Kansas City. I would prefer him not rushed back. I just want Terrell Bernard back for Kansas City. That's all I want.
Yeah.
Wrap it up, give it to me for Christmas, right? And I know for a fact that Miami's going to attack DeMar. They're going to attack
100%.
DeMar Hamlin. That's
100%.
going to be what they do. The Colts really won't be able to. They don't have the horses to be able to attack the safeties like that. Kansas City will. So you're going to get a preview of how Kansas City is going to try to attack you when you go to Miami, right? They're going to try and attack that safety position super hard. Their attention's going to be on Achane because he's so dynamic. The fact of the matter is they're going to try and get you at that safety level. That's where they're going to try and beat you. So and the Chiefs are going to do the exact same thing. They've been cobbling together a run game for the last 3 weeks. It's just one of those things where, if you're going into the bye week and you beat the Colts you beat the Colts and you've beaten the Dolphins and you lost to the Chiefs, I think Bills fans emotionally will feel different than they need to because it just hurts because it's Kansas City, right?
Yeah.
Like you know what that wound feels like. It's just going to hurt even more. The fact of the matter is right now, the division looks pretty okay because you got to go Patriots, Jets, Patriots. That's a pretty nice way to clean up the division at the end of the year.
Yeah.
That's pretty fortunate for you. I don't want
very weird.
I don't want to grant them the AFC East, but I mean, Miami's gonna have to run the table to give Buffalo any competition at all.
Yeah, it seems like not as severe, but the Bills were in that Miami's position last year. Like Miami had a 3-game lead on the Bills and had to try to play catch up, and then Miami loses to Tennessee at home, which was the first pillar to fall. We'll send you some wing. You want Lenovo, Sean? But yeah, I guess it's going to be one of those things. The narrative throughout that bye week, if you lose to Kansas City and you beat the Dolphins and the Colts, where it would be, well, you're the 2023 version of the Dolphins, where you're only beating bad teams. You can't beat any good teams.
Yeah.
And I don't think the infrastructure of Buffalo. I don't think the infrastructure of Buffalo is built like. I mean, Tony Montana isn't the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. He is the head coach of Miami.
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell me that Mike McDaniel doesn't have a pile of coke on his home office desk at his house.
Yeah, listen. Sometimes it snows more in Miami than it does in Buffalo, right? So, am I right? So Mario, looking at the Bills' defense, because that's where you're going to get Vaughn back, right? Rousseau was super impactful at the beginning of this game.
Oh my God!
And then, super impactful, but then again, much like we've seen with him, dynamic for a couple drives, and then you don't see him the rest of the game. And I did kind of lose track of where he was through, outside of those first couple drives. I saw AJ Epineza again oversetting the edge. There's just a lot of things from a defensive side that just look undisciplined to me. And it's not Dorian Williams today. I really was kind of concerned with Dorian Williams having to man the team next to Balin Spector. That concerned me quite a bit. But all in all, you look at how the game turned out, I have a feeling like the product of today's game is a product of them not having their number one wide receiver. We know what that feels like. We've certainly been there. So I don't want to be overzealous on how the defense played. There were certainly flashes where it looked like they were never going to score on Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
There were definitely times where it felt like they were just never going to score on us. Unfortunately, those are, again, just flashes because Benford's, I think, played great. Rasul Douglas, I think, has played great. Taylor Rapp has done a fine job. DeMar still concerns me quite a bit because I think that's where your vulnerability is. You have Mike Edwards. you know, you have Kareem Jackson, like you got options there, but they keep playing DeMar. So they know something that we don't, I guess.
Yeah.
But I look at teams that they have to play, and like San Francisco's without Ayuk now, and maybe they'll have McCaffrey back. Like that's a distinct possibility that they could get McCaffrey. McCaffrey will be back in December. They're trying to get him back as soon as possible. They have to have him.
Of course,
right?
yeah, they need him. Or do they?
Well, you know, if they drop the next 2 games, at that point, just hang it up.
Just leave it. Yeah, leave him alone. Let him rehab.
Yeah,
you don't need that at all. I mean, you can just throw the season in.
Right.
Yeah. For me, I'm with you. I'm with you on that, Paul, on the fact that DeMar Hamlin really kind of scares me with some of the things that he does, and it seems like Rapp has been back there as the torpedo and kind of having to play almost 2 positions at times. And you don't want to see that. You don't like that. But they're putting Hamlin there because this is the only defense he's known since he's been in the NFL. So he's got to know it by now. And we've seen a changing of the guard as far as the Buffalo Bills defense goes, where for the past 7 years, it was Hyde and Poyer directing traffic, and it really didn't matter what kind of corners you had because they would make up for what you had. Now it's been shifted where Benford and Douglas are the 2 guys that you most of the time don't have to worry about, that they'll have their assignments taken care of. And you're worried about the middle of the field, which is where Kansas City loves to attack, which is where San Francisco loves to attack with Kittle, which is where Miami loves to attack. You know what I mean? So that's going to be the thing. Moving Hill around how they always do, moving Kelsey around how they always do. And now, I mean, you want to talk about DeAndre Hopkins being washed. A lot of Buffalo Bills fans wanted Hopkins for, when he was available.
Right.
But at this point, I just seen enough from Hopkins where I don't think it's that it doesn't move the needle enough for me at this point. If you had him 2 years ago, maybe, you know what I mean? Not now.
I do want to praise the Bills defense for a moment though, where with the injuries that they've had at the key communication positions, I think that's important to call out, right? Because there's certain positions that have a more dynamic effect when a player goes out, not just on talent, but because of communication, right? So from the communication positions that they've taken injury in and had to navigate, there have not been many times where they were out of position. So from a coaching standpoint, they're clearly very well coached, right?
Yes.
Because the communication or the calls have been so much where guys aren't being caught out of position. No matter the look that the Bills have been in, there's really just been a few times where the Bills have had to take a defensive timeout because of a matchup or a miscommunication issue. So with that being said, I do want to call out that the Bills they played 8 games so far, right? In 4 of them, they've only given up 10 points. That's wild, right?
In the new NFL, absolutely.
Wild. Yeah, that's exactly. Now, again, the Titans, the Seahawks were Geno Smith leading the league in passing and yardage. The Jaguars and the Dolphins, right? Those were the teams you did it against. So, but they're not good teams. Seattle's a good team, right? But the Titans are not a good team.
No.
The Jaguars are not a great team.
Detroit figured that out today.
Yeah.
Yeah. But at the time, if you want to talk about the Dolphins and Jags, they had their full gamut of players. Well, Jags didn't have Ingram. I remember the Jags didn't have Ingram. That was a huge blow to them. They didn't have Ingram.
He's a target hog in their offense.
Yeah, he is. And then the Titans, they had Ridley and Hopkins, but you have Mason Rudolph. So you take that with a grain of salt. Seahawks didn't have Metcalf. You take that with a grain of salt. Even though they're holding these teams to 10 points, you're starting to see like some of the players that are missing. But I mean, you could say that about the Buffalo Bills. You're like, okay, the Buffalo Bills lost to the Ravens 35-10. 3 of their key defensive starters were out.
Right.
Like, what do we want to do now? You know what I mean? It's like, how long do you want to play this game? So that's why I said going into the Chiefs game, I will second your notion to put Terrell Bernard number 1 on that list.
Yeah.
You give him 2 weeks off. I don't care. He doesn't have to play Dolphins, doesn't have to play Colts. Because if he has something happen to him against the Colts.
Yeah. Right.
No. No, I'm not doing that. This guy already
Right.
has like a partially torn pec, maybe. I don't know. I'm not a medical professional, but I
Right.
know if the guy could be on the field, he can be on the field. And I think Buffalo, they probably talked to him and said, "Listen, Metcalf's out. We're going to try to, if we're going to have a heavy dose of passing, yeah, we'd love to have you in there. But we think that, the fine wine, Charbonnet and Walker are going to run the ball over the place. Let's put Spector in there, let him bang his head against the guards for 60 plays. Let's go."
Yeah. Right.
So,
But at some point, like you're going to need to, the team's going to benefit from these players getting that playing time, right? It hurts in the short term. And the Bills have done a great job of navigating that problem, right? Because they're 6-2 and they're having a lot of players get playing time who they don't really necessarily want to get playing time, right? Like, they're in break glass in case of emergency, right? When we're watching some of these defensive players out there. But the fact of the matter is they are going to benefit from the fact that those players have gotten that playing time at some point. And I think, like, when you look at the Chiefs, like, even if Terrell Bernard is back, do you want Terrell Bernard banging against Travis Kelce all game? Because I don't, right? Like, I want him back, but I don't want him doing that. Do I want Dorian Williams doing that? No, Kelsey's going to use him like a step stool. Like, I don't want that. So, like, even though there's some things that are going to happen within the construct of that game, getting him back is wildly important from a matchup perspective. But, there's some players that, again, just dynamically are going to get to you. Kelsey's just one of them. Buffalo's not really built to deal with him.
No.
A player like him. No, again, he's a Hall of Fame level player. Like, Travis Kelce's going to be in the Hall of Fame. So, he's going to be. But getting a player like Vaughn back, like, that might give you the time, or that might take away enough time where you can keep up with Kelce enough to make it difficult, at least, right? If that's the idea. Like, Dorian Williams might be able to just make it difficult for a while, but Dorian Williams ain't great in pass coverage.
No, but I would give him the nod in speed and quickness over Kelce at this point. Kelce had a Hall of Fame career. I don't think he's not the player he was 4 years ago.
I agree with that. Yeah, you're right.
He's not at all. So I think Williams could make it difficult to be a great challenge for him. But I would say that if you're the Buffalo Bills and you happen to go into that game 8-2, as opposed to 6-4, like, we could talk about this. We can go 6-4, 7-3, 8-2. If you go into that game 8-2 and you're iffy on Bernard, sit him. I don't care. Like, I'm with you on that. Like, would I love to see Bernard, and would I love to see the Buffalo Bills beat the Kansas City Chiefs? Yeah, more than likely the Chiefs, the way that their schedule is set up, if the Buffalo Bills beat them, it doesn't seem like they're going to lose too many games after that. So you're not going to have the tiebreaker with them.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you still got to contend with Houston and Baltimore in case you slip up and lose another game in there. Right. So could the Bills run the table? Absolutely. Could the Chiefs run the table? Absolutely. But I think that if Kansas City went into that game with the same record as the Bills, then I think you do play Bernard because you want to get that one seed in that bye.
Yeah.
But it's all going to be dependent on the record. I think it's going to be dependent on the record.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's what I mean, right? The Bills are having a very successful season by all accounts, right? You dropped a couple of games. You dropped one to the Ravens, dropped one to the Texans. The game at the Ravens, you simply got outplayed. The game in the Texans, there were some circumstances that I think we'd all love to have been different in that game. But, if the Bills walk away, at 14-3, right, and Kansas City goes 15-2, the Bills still had a very successful season. You can't judge how successful a season is by did they get the 1 seed. And I feel like sometimes when you look at power rankings and you hear people in the media praising the Bills for the first half of the season about how they look unbeatable and then they look beatable, you have a tendency to say, well, no, we should be the 1 seed. Like, we're the 1 seed. And then if you fail to get that, you still had a successful season. You still put Miami, the Jets, and the Patriots in the dirt. Like, you beat the hell out of your own division. That's what you're supposed to do. You play the season to get to the playoffs. Now the real game begins. Right?
Yeah.
And that's where I'm talking about all that depth that you have, who's getting playing time now. It's at that point that those players get better and they make your practices better and they make your preparation better. And all that just rolls further downhill and you're a more dangerous team going into the playoffs.
Absolutely. Like to me, it doesn't matter if the Buffalo Bills were 11-6 going into the playoffs, winning their division going in. It's almost to the point where now don't take this out of context. But the Buffalo Bills and Bills fans in general need to start treating the regular season like a formality. Like what kind of what you're saying, Paul? Like, I don't care if the Buffalo Bills are the 1 seed. Would it be nice? Yeah, it'd be cool.
Oh, I'd love for them to get a bye.
But if you're the 1 seed and you lose in the divisional, I don't care if you're the 1 seed. Doesn't matter to me. Which, conversely, like you can go 11-6 win your division and run the table on the road if you want. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter to me at this point. The Buffalo Bills for 4 straight years have won the AFC East. The AFC East should be irrelevant at this point because you have a far superior team than the other 3 teams that are in your division. You should win your division. Right.
Yeah.
And that's not me speaking out of like superiority or whatever. Paul, we covered this team for
long time.
5 years when they weren't in the playoffs during the drought. We know how horrible it is to climb that mountain when Tom Brady's at the top of it throwing 7-yard checkdowns. It sucked. Okay. But as you watch the Patriots through that 20-year dynasty, how they have it, they were 5-1 in the division. They were taking care of like the other 2 divisions that they had. And they only had a 500 record against playoff bound teams through that. So what did that put them? That put them at 12-4. They put them at 13-3. And then they were like, okay, sweet. We got 1 or 2 seed. We have a bye. That's nice. But the real season didn't start for them until the playoffs. The rest of this is a formality. And that's what Paul, I think, is trying to get across to you guys. The fact that if you see a lot of these players playing now, that's good because then if you have an injury, you're not taking a guy out there that has a deer in headlights, hasn't played before.
Well, and that's what we ran into last year, right?
Yep.
You had a lot of injuries happen late in the season. I mean, you had injuries throughout the entire season, right? But you had some really critical injuries happen late in the season. And what happened in Kansas City? You're rolling out a defense that, I mean, we were at that game. That was tough to watch. At times, when Kansas City was on offense, that was tough to watch sometimes. I know they were doing the best that they could, and they were a very well defensive coach team. Like I don't want to throw any dirt on Sean McDermott there. He did the absolute best that could probably have been done given the circumstances.
Because he did it the whole year
going to that game, and did have to do it throughout most of the season, right? Yeah, it was tough. Last year at the end of the season was hard.
How many post games did we say that he had this defense put together with bubble gum and duct tape? Like
that's true.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yep. And then moment Milano goes down, right? Like the whole defense changes, and then you're reinventing yourself every week just to keep it alive. And and here we are again, no Milano, right?
So is that a testament to Babich or McDermott as far as his game plan going? Because we have seen Dorian Williams be the top in the tackles category, albeit we know what kind of tackles he makes. Sometimes he's grabbing nameplates, but he's still in position to make those tackles. Yeah. So is it the system, or was it Milano, or was it a combination of a really good system and the perfect player in that system?
Yeah. That's a great question.
I don't know. Like I don't know what they would do, because I would love to see Bernard next to Milano in this defense. That would be so great.
But, that's been the plan for the last couple of years. It hasn't gone well.
I know long gone is the memory of Edmonds, isn't it? You know what I mean? Wonderful player for this team. I love Edmonds. I was going to buy a jersey for Val with Edmonds because he went to Virginia Tech and so did she. So it would have been a great jersey to get her, but he didn't resign. So she now has a Bears jersey. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, point being is that, but as we try to wrap this up, Paul, we're going to give the 2-minute roasters because we didn't do that last week. We can let you guys roast us if you guys want. Trade deadline is not over. I think Paul's looking that up right now.
November 3rd, November 5th. It's November 5th is the NFL trade deadline.
Okay.
I mean, the Bills have already addressed the wide receiver position. Running back room, look, I don't think they're going to make any changes at running back. I don't see them making any changes defensively anywhere, right? They seem too stubborn a team to make a defensive trade, like a trade for a defensive player. I just don't see it happening. I think they're done.
For depth, I don't know what they would do. Myles Garrett was talked about, but you can't afford him at all.
No.
Even if you, I have to run the numbers again. Even if you didn't have the Stephon Diggs money bomb.
Oh yeah, you're paying the Diggs money is that hurts you bad.
Yeah, I'm going to put this up for 3 minutes for our lovely roasters. Paul, would you do the honor of reading them because I can't read yet?
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Okay, when they put them in. So I'm going to start the timer for 3 minutes. But really quick, I just wanted to say I think it's a wonderful improvement when you see quarterbacks age and mature. And I'm, of course, talking about Kyler Murray. Black Ops 6 dropped, and he had 300 yards today and 2 touchdowns. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, good for him. Good for him. Well, you know what it's like sometimes, Mar, where you're playing a video game and then you realize you weren't blinking for the last 12 minutes, right? You're like, oh my God, you blink and it feels like you're rubbing sandpaper on your eyes. You haven't been blinking for the last 12 minutes.
Bro was locked in. All right. Hashtag Nation of Bills Mafia. You got 3 minutes on the clock to roast whoever you want, but just remember, keep it nice. Okay.
Yeah, we'll try and keep it professional. I did want to point out that you were called out pretty early. No victory hats this season. Some people are pretty upset with you over the fact that there's been no victory hats.
I will eventually break out the victory hats, but I am going to, once again, I'll call you out, Paul, because you told us that for this month, we were going to get a treat, a barrage of Halloween things.
You're right. I have not. I don't have a jersey on. You're right. I did say that I would do that. I pulled out my Shane Falco jersey for the stream. And I just forgot to put it on. I'm so sorry. I was going to put on my Shane Falco. Where's your Bobby Boucher? Huh?
Let me get it. I can get it. Fine. You can get it.
It's all right. Let's see here. Mario's hair seems to grow an extra centimeter for every penalty the Bills get. By the end of the season, it'll look like Chewbacca. Trust me, he's been Chewbacca for the last few years. You guys haven't ever had to do a podcast with him.
Oh my God. It's grown an inch every time someone mentions 9 and 7.
Can we roast the offense again for dumb penalties on first downs and out of commercial breaks? It's ridiculous.
You could. See. I definitely would.
Mario is doing his best Mac Hollins impression. He is barefoot right now. Please keep the nope. Don't show those dogs. Don't. Oh, come on.
I've been walking.
We get demonetized. We get demonetized when you can't put your feet on the internet, Mario. You've been on social media long enough to know you don't put your feet on the internet unless
why not
pay for it.
Check my blue and white app. My feet are everywhere there.
Why are you so seasoned in knowing what this is? I don't even know what you're talking about, but you just told me that you know how to sell feet pictures on the internet, Mario.
Hey, COVID hit me pretty bad, Paul.
You had to shave your toe knuckles. That's great.
My toe knuckle.
That's great.
Oh yeah, the Kodak timeout.
Yep, that's it. Gotta love it. So you know.
How about McDermott trying to get in the middle of that skirmish? Like, I know you wrestled, but it was like 35 years ago, Sean.
You know what? If Mike Edwards is mad that he isn't playing, maybe he needs to go wrestle in the offseason. That seems to be the way to start in this offense. And nice of Mario to wear his Frankenstein mask for the live stream. Mario did shave. Like I saw Mar not too long ago. Mar, one thing I just want to make sure everybody knows, Mar and I don't like physically see each other very often. Right. But the only time I get a chance to see him, I looked at him, I go, why? You have a beard. Like I'm used to Mar having like a little stubble, like just a little grown out, like.
Yeah.
It was long.
It was very long. It was white patches everywhere too, which kind of upset me. But I mean, it's product of getting old, kids.
Yep. Mario's the softest hair in the East. It's the herbal essence. You do not. He does shower like the commercials from the 2000s.
I did not. Stop it. Stop it.
Yeah.
Only when I'm getting in a car with you later that day.
That's it. You got to condition, man. Like that's it. You got to rinse, wash, repeat.
It's amazing how much attention during the roast is just given to my appearance.
Yeah.
Like if I cut my hair and never said 9 and 7, you guys would leave me alone. Yeah, John.
That's it.
According to Paul, it's going to be on my TikTok shop. So be on the lookout.
That's it.
for
Yeah,
my
it sure should be. Sure should be.
Herbal Essence and Grunge were 90s. So Paul, we're at the end of the timer went off. We're at the end of the end of the stream. I want you to do because you don't do this very much. I want you to do a selfless plug for what you were doing this morning. You had band practice today.
Oh yeah.
Tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, so I'm in a band called Unplugged. We'll be in Syracuse and Rochester in November. So first November 6th and November 14th, I think. Love Cup in Rochester, Middle Ages Brewing in Syracuse, and then in Buffalo at Buffalo Ironworks in December. We are doing Stone Temple Pilots' Purple album and their Unplugged set. So pretty cool thing. It's what I do as another hobby, yet another hobby. And it's fun. You can check us out at unpluggedtributeband.com, Unplugged on Facebook. So
go visit that. There's 68 beautiful people in here. Please go check that out and go see Paul in Rochester and Syracuse. That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
You never plug that here. I want you to start plugging that here, Paul.
Yeah, I don't. It's separation of church and state, Mar.
I'm not inviting anybody to my Fortnite stream, so that's fine.
Yeah, that's true. There's a full transparency, Mar. When we play together and you don't tell me you're streaming and I start swearing like a sailor, and then you're like, Paul, like you give me the dad tone like super quick. Like you gotta be more upfront with me when you're streaming on YouTube or streaming on TikTok, and I don't know.
Yeah, the TikTok app, they sometimes frown upon certain words and phrases and stuff like that, but I'll be sure to let you know in the future.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that.
All right, hashtag Nation Bills Mafia. I hope you have a wonderful Bills Victory Monday. You can find us on all of our social: TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. All episodes will be on iTunes and Spotify. I am Mario. That's Paul. Tonight's show is sponsored by Mr. Rogers Homes. Please go check it out in the description of this video. We're out of here, guys.
Thank you, Paul, as well as the rest of the Hashtag Sports crew. It's an honor being a sponsor. Investing in real estate, especially in the Phoenix metro area, may change your financial picture forever. And it's easier than you may think. I'm originally from Buffalo, New York, and proud of it. Yet I live in the Valley of the Sun, have for decades, and love it. I also humbly run one of the top real estate teams in Arizona. We help others score, as it were, when it comes to buying, selling, renting, and of course, investing in real estate. I've been a multi-million-dollar producer for many years, and the Mr. Rogers Homes Arizona real estate team has earned the top spot at West USA Realty for 10 years plus. Again, thank you, Hashtag Sports, Go Bills, and God